Good afternoon and welcome to Spectrum Television News at 12. I am Uyai coming to you live from Uyo, the Akwa Ibom State capital. Let's take a look at the headlines. Federal government unveils halal economy strategy to unlock $12 billion. Cnpp urges Nass committee to adopt House of Representatives Electoral Act Amendment for Senate on e-transmission. Trump endorses Japan Takaichi ahead of snap election. We'll bring you the details of these stories and more in a moment. Good afternoon and thanks for joining us. We begin the news at noon from the nation's leader, President Bola Tinubu, who has expanded the Nigeria for Women program to reach 25 million beneficiaries nationwide. This was as he reaffirmed his administration's commitment to women's economic inclusion and national development. Speaking of the presidential launch of the program Scale Up at the Presidential Villa, Abuja, the president, who was represented by Vice President Kashim Shettima, noted that Nigeria cannot achieve sustainable growth without placing women at the center of national planning. According to him, a nation that relegates its women is a nation bound for implosion, stressing that it is why his administration has not only placed women at the forefront of decision-making, but has also entrusted them with leadership in causes that redeem the national promise. The president designated 2026 as the year of social development and families in Nigeria, directing coordinated action across all levels of government. The declaration followed a memorandum of understanding signed during his January official visit to Turkey, aimed at strengthening family cohesion and social welfare systems. President Tinubu commended the Ministry of Women Affairs and Social Development for integrating technology into policy implementation and for reorganizing social development into a more coherent system since the launch of the Renewed Hope Social Impact Intervention in Lafia last year, noting that the transformation reflected what purposeful leadership can achieve. Away from that, the federal government has launched Nigeria's National Halal Economy Strategy, a comprehensive framework designed to position the country within the estimated $7.7 trillion global halal market and unlock up to $12 billion in domestic economic value over the next decade. President Bola Tinubu, represented by Vice President Kashim Shettima, performed the unveiling at the Presidential Villa, Abuja, describing the strategy as a decisive step toward export diversification, foreign direct investment inflows, and large-scale job creation across key sectors of the economy. Shettima said the initiative signaled Nigeria's readiness to compete in a fast-growing global marketplace, increasingly defined by quality standards, traceability, and ethical production systems, rather than narrow religious interpretations. He added that the strategy was projected to contribute an estimated $1.5 billion to the nation's gross domestic product by 2027 if effectively implemented. In the meantime, the federal government, through the Federal Ministry of Livestock Development for the Prevention and Control of Transboundary Animal Diseases, has supplied the Ekiti State government with 80,500 doses of livestock vaccines. The vaccines were distributed through the Livestock Productivity and Resilience Support Program. The vaccines comprise, 50,000 doses of contagious bovine pneumonia vaccine, 60,000 doses of Newcastle disease vaccine, and 500 doses of foot and mouth disease vaccine. The State Commissioner for Agriculture and Food Security, Ebenezer Boluwade, while receiving the vaccines in Ado-Ekiti, said the intervention was part of the state government's strategic efforts to strengthen animal health systems and boost livestock productivity. He assured livestock farmers and other stakeholders that the vaccines would be deployed through coordinated vaccination campaigns to ensure wide coverage across livestock clusters and farming communities. In a separate development, the Conference of Nigeria Political Parties (Cnpp) has called on the Bipartisan Conference Committee of the National Assembly to adopt the House of Representatives version of the Electoral Act Amendment Bill of 2026, describing it as critical to improving electoral transparency and credibility in Nigeria. In a statement issued out to journalists today by the Deputy National Publicity Secretary James Ezema, the Cnpp said the House version, which makes electronic transmission of election results mandatory, represents a more credible framework for conducting free, fair and verifiable elections. According to the Cnpp, the House will expressly compel presiding officers to upload polling unit results to the Independent National Electoral Commission INEC result viewing portal in real time immediately after collation at polling units, thereby eliminating discretion in the transmission of results. The group, however, criticized the Senate for retaining provisions of the Electoral Act 2022 that grants INEC discretionary powers over the mode and manner of transmitting election results and accreditation data. The Cnpp described the Senate's position as unacceptable and anti-democratic, warning that it could undermine public confidence in the electoral process and pose serious risks to Nigeria's democratic stability. On security, the Kwara Police Command has confirmed that at least 75 people were killed in the recent attack on communities in Kaima, local government area of the state. The police public relations officer Adeotun Ejiri Adeyemi disclosed this yesterday during a live interview. According to her, the Kwara State Police Command was promptly informed after the incident, following which the Commissioner of Police Adekimi Odo ordered an immediate deployment to the affected communities. She explained that the location of the attack posed a challenge, noting that the affected area is about 2 hours from divisional headquarters in Kaima. Responding to concerns that the attackers may have been in the community for some time before launching the assault, the police spokesperson said investigations were ongoing. She added that ongoing clearance operations in Kwara and neighboring Kogi state had disrupted the activities of armed groups in recent weeks. Still on security, the Defense Headquarters has insisted that the country's security partnership with the United States primarily focuses on capacity building, professional military education, intelligence sharing, logistics support, and strategic dialogue aimed at addressing shared security concerns, including terrorism. The DHQ made the clarification following the reports that U.S. troops had been deployed to Nigeria. In a statement signed by the Director of Defense Information, Major General Samaila Uba, the DHQ emphasized that all engagements with the United States are conducted with full respect for Nigeria's sovereignty and existing bilateral frameworks. General Uba assured Nigerians that the armed forces of Nigeria remain committed to protecting the nation's territorial integrity while collaborating with credible partners in ways that strengthen the country's security. The statement further stressed that Nigeria's defense partnerships are transparent, policy-driven and aligned with constitutional provisions, ensuring that international cooperation enhances the nation's security architecture without compromising national independence. We move now to Africa, where Cameroon and Equatorial Guinea have signed a bilateral treaty for joint extraction of gas from the Yoyo-Yolanda gas reserves in March 2023. The official signing ceremony, which Equatorial Guinea's Vice President Theodore Obiang presided over, officialized the treaty and represented a concrete step towards extraction. The two countries aim to extract gas and liquefy it at a specialized center in Punta Europa before exporting it. Reports say the gas will also be extracted along a second axis to Bingba in Cameroon. According to reports, while the project is celebrated for the economic sovereignty, it will push for the region and the additional jobs creation opportunity. The environmental impact of the offshore gas extraction remains a heavy shadow that could have negative long-term consequences. On the foreign scene, United States President Donald Trump has endorsed Japan's Prime Minister Cnpp ahead of a snap election in her country on Sunday. Trump in a social media post said Takachi was proven to be a strong, powerful and wise leader, adding that she will not let the people of Japan down. Takachi, 64, became Prime Minister in October after she won the leadership race in her party and secured enough support in parliament. Still on the foreign scene, United States President Donald Trump has publicly acknowledged Nigeria's First Lady, Senator Tinubu, during the national prayer breakfast held in Washington, D.C. The annual event, which traditionally gathers political leaders, clergy and faith-based figures in the U.S. Capitol, briefly shifted focus when Trump interrupted his speech to recognize Oluremi's presence among the audience. In his remarks, the American president highlighted the Nigerian First Lady's standing and faith, drawing attention to her role as a Christian pastor, and described her as a woman of influence and deep spirituality. Still to come in the news. Super Falcons WAFCON 2026 camp to open February 24. Stay tuned for details of this and more in a moment. Welcome back and thanks for staying tuned. And now to conclude the news on this hour. On our business news, the federal government has commenced a comprehensive review of the National Agricultural Growth Scheme and Agro-Pocket project after recording 2.5 million metric tons of produce valued at 2.31 trillion naira over 4 farming seasons. Speaking at the workshop on the implementation framework of the National Agricultural Growth Scheme and Agro-Pocket program, the Minister of State for Agriculture and Food Security, Senator Aliyu Abdullahi, said the meeting was convened to assess progress and strengthen implementation. Abdullahi noted that the achievement had positively impacted the nation's food supply and pricing, saying that its significant milestone achievements has contributed substantially to increased food availability and the stabilization of food prices in the country. He added that the review aligned with President Bola Tinubu's declaration of emergency on food and nutrition security. Still in business, the federal government has unveiled fresh measures to strengthen Nigeria's gas-to-power value chain, describing natural gas as the backbone of electricity supply and a critical enabler of the country's industrialization drive. The government disclosed that gas currently fuels more than 70% of Nigeria's on-grid electricity generation, but admitted that structural weaknesses across supply, infrastructure and commercial arrangements have continued to constrain power delivery to homes and industries. Speaking of the government strategy during a ministerial address at the National Gas Day session of the 9th Nigeria International Energy Summit 2026 in Abuja, the Minister of State for Petroleum Resources, Gas, Ekpo, said the administration of President Bola Tinubu was deliberately reinforcing the entire gas-to-power ecosystem to support economic growth, industrial productivity, and energy security. Ekpo also announced the expansion of its free liquefied petroleum gas cylinder distribution program to cover all 6 geopolitical zones as part of efforts to deepen clean cooking adoption, reduce deforestation, and cut household reliance on firewood and charcoal. On our health news, the Federal Ministry of Health and Social Welfare has announced major advances in Nigeria's healthcare system aimed at expanding access to specialized medical services and reinforcing the country's role in global health governance. The initiatives are expected to position Nigeria as a regional hub for advanced diagnostics, oncology, and cardiology, while strengthening its leadership in addressing global health challenges such as antimicrobial resistance. In a statement, the ministry said the International Finance Corporation, the Nigeria Sovereign Investment Authority, and MedServ NSIA Advanced Medical Services Limited have signed a strategic agreement to accelerate the nationwide rollout of affordable diagnostics, oncology, and cardiology services. The program will see the expansion of advanced diagnostic centers equipped with modern laboratory and imaging technologies, alongside the development of specialized oncology centers and advanced cardiac care facilities, including catheterization laboratories across multiple locations. Now to the world of sports. Holders Super Falcons of Nigeria will begin preparations for the 2026 Women's Africa Cup of Nations in on Tuesday, February 24th. The West Africans are drawn in Group C with Malawi, Zambia, and Egypt. Nigeria will be looking to win a record-extending 11th title in Morocco next month. The Super Falcons will participate in the WAFU B Invitational Tournament in Abidjan, Côte d'Ivoire, later this month as part of their preparations for the WAFCON 2026 finals. Tennis sports Emma Raducanu stormed into the semi-finals of the Transylvania Open with a commanding victory over Poland's Marja Chalslika. The British #1, whose sole title remains her astonishing 2021 US Open triumph, rushed through the first set in 25 minutes without losing a game. Chalslika, ranked 146th in the world, put up more resistance in the second set, but Raducanu struck a decisive blow at 3-3 before seeing out a 6-0, 6-4 win. It is just the 4th time that Raducanu has reached the semi-finals of a tournament since winning the New York Major 5 years ago. On entertainment news, ace musician Innocent Idibia, popularly known as Two-Face, has added his voice to the ongoing debate comparing singer Wizkid with late Afrobeat pioneer Fela Kuti and Anikulapo. Recall that Wizkid sparked outrage after claiming he is bigger than Fela while responding to Seun Kuti's criticisms of him over the comparison of the Ojuelegba crooner with the Afrobeat legend. Reacting, Two-Face described the comparison as ridiculous, emphasizing that it is both disrespectful to Fela's legacy and unfair to Wizkid's career. The African Queen crooner explains that placing Fela and Wizkid side by side ignores their different eras, impact, and unique contributions to Nigerian music. And that's all we have on the news at this time. Do well to follow us on social media, subscribe to our YouTube channel, all of which you can find on our website, SpectrumTVLive.ng. This has been Spectrum Television News at 12. Thanks for watching. Enjoy the rest of your day. Good afternoon.